What's up, you guys? My name is Michael Elefante, and today I would like to share with you a little story about how I went from pouring coffees at Dunkin' Donuts in 2015, and my wife went from cooking pizzas and Domino's in 2015 to now collectively owning over $2 million worth of real estate. Now, there's a little bit of a problem with the internet, right? You have all of these social media platforms, even including YouTube, where people go on and talk about their success and how they're doing certain things, but what you don't always get is the full background story. And it's tough for a lot of people and influencers to show all of the hard work, effort, blood, sweat, and tears that went into the past, maybe even decade, on where they are today. But as consumers, all we see as we're swiping through everyone's channel is that little clip of how perfect their life seems and how much they have or how well they have it. So what I'd like to talk to you guys about, especially those who have subscribed to my channel, is give you a little bit more genuine background information on myself and on my wife, and tell you guys kind of our path to going from quite literally working in fast food restaurants 5 years ago to now owning over $2 million in real estate that's growing every single year and is cash flowing us well in the six figures every single year. And as I tell you guys in many of my past videos, sharing numbers from investments and things like that, I just want to be fully transparent with everybody, especially if you guys are taking the time to watch me talk about these things on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram. I owe it to you to be transparent. So I want to tell you guys the full truth, let you know the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. So before we get started, if you guys do appreciate that transparency, if you don't mind, hit the subscribe button below, hit the like button, drop a comment if you have questions or other commentary. I love interacting with folks that do leave comments. And honestly, all of that truthfully helps with the YouTube algorithm and promoting my content out to other people like yourself who may find value from watching. Now, first and foremost, I need to give a huge shout out to my wife, Jill, who is, my rock. And honestly, none of this would be possible without her sharing the same vision and goals as I do. So quick background on me. I played sports growing up, primarily baseball, which I earned a scholarship to play at Elon University in North Carolina. And I had some interest from professional scouts. So when I was a junior and senior in college, I really truthfully thought I had the skills to play at the next level. Plagued by a few injuries, and honestly, looking back on it, probably did not perform well enough on a consistent basis to earn that opportunity. But I did redshirt 1 year, meaning I was injured and ended up coming back for a 5th year. But in between that 4th and 5th year, I had already graduated, so I was planning on entering the workforce if I didn't get drafted. And I ultimately could not find a single job. It was pretty rough time for me. I was even a little bit overweight, struggling with things. I went down to Florida to look for work and just decide what I wanted to do with my life. And again, could not find a job. The only job, I swear, that hired me was Dunkin' Donuts on minimum wage. I think it was like $7.25 an hour, pouring coffees for people at 5 o'clock in the morning. And for those that know me, I'm extremely ambitious, and honestly, that was kind of a low point for me. It was coming off the high of potentially playing professional baseball to the ultimate low of not even knowing what I want to do with life, what am I passionate about, and now I'm pouring coffees at 5 in the morning. So honestly, it was quite tough. At that same time, my wife at the time, who we just started dating, I think we were a couple weeks into dating, she even liked me when I worked at Dunkin' Donuts. And she actually was working at Domino's and later bartended some. So we made some of the money that we could just to kind of get by that summer. And then I ultimately decided to go back and play my 5th year of baseball because I didn't really know what else to do and I still had scholarship money to use. Fast forward a year, after baseball's done, I know I'm not playing professionally. I, again, didn't know what to do. I'm sitting there on my hands. I looked up on Google almost every day, what jobs pay the most for new graduates, things like that, things that a ton of you guys watching probably did or are currently doing. And ultimately came to the conclusion that I didn't want to go back for a specialty degree in the School of Law or in medicine or do a graduate or master's degree or something like that, because why spend more money on that stuff if it's not something I truly am passionate about or know that I want to do long term. So I went into sales because I heard you can make money in sales. I went into tech sales and I knew nothing about technology. I could barely even use my own phone, but I took a job making $35,000 a year doing cold calling, 70 to 100 calls a day, calling people to hopefully take meetings with our sales representatives on my behalf. And again, I didn't even know what I was talking about. So I was lucky, but I tell you what, I grinded because I knew what the end goal was. And the end goal was at that point in time to get a promotion to inside sales, which I did 7 months later. So come January 2017, got a promotion to inside sales, got a pay bump between base salary and some commissions, was making around 70 grand. And my wife was at the time working at a lab, making around $30,000. So our income started to creep up. Oh, and we worked on the weekends. We both side hustled. I worked at a vineyard pouring wine for people, cutting cheese, things like that, which I actually made more money doing after taxes than I did at the initial job cold calling before taxes. That's crazy. Now with me, guys, you're gonna see a recurring thing, which is I hate being complacent. And that's something I recommend to everybody out there. Do not be complacent in work, in health, in fitness, in anything in your life. So once I felt like I had hit the cap at that job, I started networking around, networked on LinkedIn a ton. And I would not have had the opportunities to interview at places like Google, Salesforce, Workday, Paycom, all these other big tech companies if I didn't network. Because again, it really helps who you know, not necessarily what you know, because it's extremely competitive. So ultimately got a job working at Google, somewhat of a pseudo inside sales role. Again, I thought this was the dream, right? We moved to Austin. My wife was working in the medical examiner's office at the time, which she really, really enjoyed. She was great at doing, and again, enjoyed her work. So we were living the dream in our opinion. And then a few months in, while work was great, you know, it started to dawn on us, do we want to do these things until we're 65 years old? I don't know. So again, we had to focus on our earnings, and the ultimate path to making more money in sales was to get in a field sales role. So I finally got a field sales opportunity at a company called Extreme Networks, which I still currently work at in Nashville, Tennessee. It has been extremely rewarding. I've been here for over 2 years. My wife ended up quitting the medical examiner office and working in sales as well. She works for a staffing company local in Nashville too. So once I secured the job in Nashville as a field sales representative, my wife started looking for a job, and in the process of moving to Nashville, I had already planned to propose, which is kind of a crazy story, sidestep. I planned a surprise trip to Nashville before any of this was set to happen, proposed, and we actually ended up closing on our first house, our primary residence together, got engaged, and started a new job all in the same week. I know, it was like the most stressful week ever, but we worked out. We bought that house for $415,000 in East Nashville, which is somewhat of a gentrified area. There's a ton of new development, both commercial and residential going up. So a lot of cool things happening in the city, new restaurants popping up, all that good stuff. Since then, we just had our house appraised and refinanced. This month we're set to close on the refinance, and it got appraised at $500,000. Now, a year after we moved to Nashville, we finally saved up enough money to invest in our first property. We ultimately decided to go with a short-term rental investment and list on Airbnb because the tourism market was so hot in Nashville. So we bought this place for $495,000, put 15% down as an investment loan, spent some money furnishing it, and this property today is worth about $525,000. A few months later, my wife and I actually decided to make the crazy move of selling out of the vast majority of our 401k and IRA accounts and use that money as a down payment. We put 20% down on a townhome that you can walk to all the Broadway live music bar scene in Nashville. And that house we bought for $430,000, and we bought it fully furnished. It was already a rental. And that property today is worth about $445,000. And we closed on that townhouse in May of 2020. And fast forward a few months, we had saved up some money. We had rental income coming in. And again, our assets and net worth were building through equity in these houses. Continue to save from our day jobs, which honestly is most important. Again, we focused on our earnings. And now we saved up enough to do a secondary home loan. We put 10% down on a vacation house that we plan to use a bunch. It's in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. It's a mountain house or a cabin. Extremely hot tourist market. The Smoky Mountain National Park is the most visited national park in the United States. So keep that in mind. So we knew that there was going to be a ton of people there, and the plan was to have renters rent it out when we're not using it, right? So you can do that and only put 10% down. We actually found a place that we wanted to renovate. So we ended up spending about $50,000 renovating the house, furnishing it how we wanted, made it super special, and we're so glad we did because it is renting out beyond our wildest imaginations. Not only that, because we spent the money fixing it up, the forced equity or forced appreciation, again, due to having nicer amenities and things like that in the house, new paint, new floors, all that good stuff. We purchased the house at $550,000. It is worth at a minimum of $650,000 today, just a couple months later. So you add all these numbers up and we get to a grand total of real estate assets that we currently own today of $2,120,000. Now, even if we didn't purchase any more real estate moving forward, which we plan to do, by the way, we're gonna have major benefits just from owning a few properties. Number one is the cash flow. These properties are cash flowing well over $100,000 every single year. And we need to factor in loan pay down or principal pay down because our guests that rent out the place, part of our expenses is the mortgage, and part of that mortgage is principal, the other part is interest. So every single month, each of these properties, there is principal payments, which is being paid down every single month again, which is essentially money in our pocket, right? We are gaining equity in the house every single month moving forward. And then whatever we capture as appreciation, which I usually forecast at baseline 3%. In these markets, it's actually been between 5 and 10% between Nashville and Gatlinburg, respectively, the past few years. But even just 3% of $2 million, that's the compound effect in growing every single year. So that's how you guys can increase your net worth in real estate. And that's something that was the light bulb moment for me, where it really just took a lot of risk out of the equation. Once I factored in cash flow, principal pay down, and appreciation, it was a no-brainer. November was the first month that we became financially free, meaning our cash flow or passive income from our properties exceeded, and in grand fashion, far exceeded our monthly living expenses in November. In December, it's set to do that again, and actually the Mountain House alone is going to be far above our monthly expenses. So that's the power of one property. If you pick the right property, can actually set you financially free, which is crazy to think about. If you told me this 12 months ago, especially 5 years ago working at Dunkin' Donuts, that this is where we'd be today, I would have told you, you are crazy. I had no money in my bank account. I was making $7.25 an hour. She had very little money in her bank account, and she was making, I think, $10 an hour at Domino's. So again, you guys, wherever you are today, do not be discouraged when you see people on the internet or other people and just assume overnight success. It's not the case. What I can tell you is I suggest you adopting the regret minimalization framework made famous by Jeff Bezos, founder and CEO of Amazon. But basically think 5, 10, 20 years down the road, and would you regret making or not making the decision today? And again, I kind of use that as motivation to get over the hump and the idea of risk and investing in things like real estate. Again, it's still mind-boggling to me that our real estate portfolio has grown to over $2 million, and we're only 27 years old, but we want to continue to challenge ourselves. Again, don't become complacent ever. Continue to challenge yourself, right? So I want to adopt that mentality, and again, the regret minimalization framework. So now we have even newer and loftier goals. I don't know if this is even possible, but why not 10x your goals, right? I would love us to have over $10 million in our real estate portfolio by age 30. And I turned 28 in 2 weeks. So that gives us 2 years to go from 2 million to 10 million in real estate assets. And on top of that, I think it's possible to cash flow $1 million per year by age 35. I really do think it's possible. Again, the growth in real estate is exponential. As you guys get into real estate, I found that you can leverage other people's money, you can leverage your network, you can partner with people. There's ways to invest or get started in real estate with little or even no money at all. The power of investing in real estate, and not just real estate, the power of investing and the compound effect are so powerful and profound. The sooner you get started, the better, you guys, I promise. And last final thought, guys, do not let anybody discourage you. I get negative comments from people on social media, which is something hard for me to overcome. It's not easy to expose yourself on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. Honestly, I just hope to motivate and inspire people, and I hope to help, mentor and coach people as well. I just want to provide value to you guys because honestly, without mentorship and coaching in my life, but whether it be sports, real estate, business, I would not be anywhere close to where we are today. My wife, same. So with that, guys, do not let people discourage you. Maybe they're having a bad day and they're throwing shade, on your party. So just brush it off and just use it as motivation, fuel your fire to further your growth. Hang out with people who motivate you. Hang out with people who, share similar vision and goals. Have accountability groups. Push each other. Make sure you guys are holding each other accountable to their goals, and they're holding you accountable to your goals as well. Because again, that'll help push you guys and stay on track to achieving whatever lofty goals that you guys have. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I honestly hope you found lots of value in it. I hope you're inspired and hopefully motivated. Again, drop your comments below if you have questions. I'll try to answer as many of them as possible. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. One of my goals is to grow this YouTube channel, and I can't do that unless I provide valuable content to all of you. And with that, I hope I earn the trust for you to subscribe to my channel, like the content. Again, it helps with the YouTube algorithm to promote the content out to the greater public, which in turn helps me grow this channel. So thank you guys again so much for watching. I'm wishing you guys nothing but health and wealth on your journey to financial freedom.